Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah Harihi Om Dhyayamo Dhavalavagunthanavatim Tejomayim Naishtikim Snigdhapangavilokinim Bhagavatim Mandasmitashrimukhim Vatsalyamritavarshiniim Sumadhuram Sankirtanalapinim Shyamangim Madhusiktasuktim Amritanandatmikam Ishwarim. Om Amriteshwaryai Namah. Om Amriteshwaryai Namah. Om Amriteshwaryai Namah. Om Amriteshwaryai Namah. Let us continue with our discussion on Hanuman Chalisa. We discussed the verses 11 through 13 the last time, and we were discussing how Lord Hanuman, when Lord Rama's brother Lakshmana was injured severely in the war and at the brink of death, Hanuman went all the way up to the north of India to the Himalayan mountain ranges, brought the Sanjeevani herbs. Rather than bringing just the herbs, he just brought the whole mountain. And with his gesture, with which he saved Lakshmana's life and the lives of all the monkey army members who were affected by Meghnath, his attack, his arrow, Lord Rama just embraced Hanuman with love and compassion, with gratefulness, and showered upon him big amount of praises. That's what we discussed the last time. And we discussed how praises, the master would seldom praise the disciple so as to have a hold on the ego, so that the disciple's ego doesn't balloon up. And in spite of that, Lord Rama did that just to show how Hanuman had his ego under control, and he was deserving of praise, which Lord Rama did. So today's two verses that we're going to discuss, 14 and 15, are both again about praises. So basically, both these verses are just listing out a lot of names, saying they all praise Hanuman. But anyway, let's look into the spiritual impart that we could have behind the praises. So the 14th and the 15th verses are Sanakadik Brahmadi Munisa Narad Sarad or Sharad Sahita Ahisa. And the 15th verse, Jam Kuber Digpal Jahate Kabhi ko bid kahi sake kahate. So these are the two verses we'll look into. Let's look into the pronunciation first. We'll do it in 4 parts. I will pronounce it first. Please respond after me once. Sanakadik, Sanakadik, Brahmadi Munisa, Brahmadi Munisa, Narad Sharad, Narad Sharad, Sahit Ahisa, Sahit Ahisa. The 15th verse, or we'll do the 14th. We'll do it all together. So I'll pronounce it once all together. Please respond after me. Sanakadik Brahmadi Munisa Narad Sharad Sahita Ahisa. Respond once, please. Sanakadik Brahmadi Munisa Narad Sharad Sahita Ahisa. The 15th verse, Jam or Yam, both of them are fine. Jam Kuber, Jam Kuber. Digpal Jahan Te. Digpal Jahan Te. Like I had mentioned earlier, the Jaham, we needn't pronounce it as Jaham. It's the typical North Indian way of pronouncing it would be to make Ham, the sound Ha, nasal. Jahan. Jahan Te. So the next line, Kabhi ko bid. Kabhi ko bid. It could be Kavi or Kabhi. Kovid, Kobid. Both are fine. Kavi Kovid. Kahi sake kahan. Kahi sake kahan te. Kahi sake kahan te. Same thing here. Kahan. Ha, nasal. The M needn't be pronounced as rather kahan. So the whole verse, Jam Kuber Digpal Jahan Te, Kabhi ko bid kahi sake kahan te. Please repeat. Jam Kuber Digpal Jahan Te, Kabhi ko bid kahi sake kahan te. So what do the verses tell us? They're just listing out a lot of names, telling they're all in praise of Hanuman, beginning with Sanakadik. The Sanaka, Sanaka and the four brothers, the sages, the most revered sages. We'll discuss about it further or in detail after this. So the Sanaka, the Sanat Kumar brothers, or the Kumaras, the four brothers, the sages, Sanaka and others, Sanaka, etc. Sanakadik. Brahmadi, again Brahma, the creator, Adi, etc. So Brahma and others. So Sanaka and others, Brahma and others. Munisa, Munisa, referring to sages and seers of ancient times. They were all in praise of Hanuman. So Sanaka brothers, Brahma and others, sages and seers. Narad, Narad, sage Narada is considered one of the highest of all the sages. Again, we'll discuss about him soon after this. So Narada, sage Narada. And then Sharada. Sharada, goddess Saraswati, is referred to as Sharada. So goddess Saraswati. Sahita, Sahita, along with. Ahisa, Ahisa, referring to Adishesha. It's a colloquial way of pronouncing Adishesha. Adishesha is the king of the serpents. So we'll again discuss about Adishesha a little more after this. So Sanakadika Brahmadi Munisha. So Sanaka and others, Brahma and others, sages and seers, sage Narada, goddess Saraswati, along with Adishesha, the king of the serpents. And then who else? Jama Kuber, Jama or otherwise Yama. Yama, the god of death, god of time. Kubera, the god of wealth, lord of prosperity. Digpal, Dik refers to the directions, and Pala, one who safeguards. So the guardians of all the directions or space. So what is it? Jam Kuber Digpal Jahate. So wherever they are, Jahate. From wherever they are doing what? Praising Hanuman. We'll get to that line. Then Kabi Kobid. Kavi refers to poets, one who versifies. Kobid, one who is talented, one who sings, one who is able to express musically. Kobid. Kobid also refers to the intellectual ones in certain contexts. Kobid. Kahi sake. Kahi sake. Kahi sake, to speak. The ability to speak. Kahate, from where? So it says, it lists all these names, and they say, they are unable to speak his praises, or their words are not enough to praise Lord Hanuman, to describe the glory of Lord Hanuman. So we'll look into each of these names. So it begins with who? Sanaka and others. Sanakadika is the term we use. If you remember, long time back we discussed the 726th name in Lalita Sahasranama during the scriptural discussion. We discussed Om Sanakadi Samaradhyayai Namah. One who is worshipped by Sanakadi, Sanaka, etc. So who are the Sanaka and others? They are referred to as the Kumaras, the Kumara brothers, the four sages who ever remained as Kumaras, as little boys, in form of little boys. Kumaras, the Sanaka brothers. So it seems it is believed when Lord Brahma, the creator, went ahead with the process of creation, various aspects of the creation and various deities, forms, elements, they all came from various body parts of Brahma. And it seems the Sanaka and the brothers, the Sanat Kumaras, they came from Brahma's mind, from Brahma's thought, Brahma's mind. So they are more about knowledge, about wisdom. So the four brothers, their names are Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumara. The four brothers. And they took up the vow of celibacy and ever remained as children, as little boys. It seems the whole idea of creation was that which came from Brahma. They were supposed to create further, and that's how it multiplied, the creation. But the Sanaka brothers, they were an exception. They decided to remain celibate and just be representative of knowledge. And it seems they acquired their knowledge from Dakshinamurti, Lord Shiva, a form of Lord Shiva, which is ever in silence, facing the south. We discussed about Dakshinamurti again in Lalita Sahasranama. Om Dakshinamurtaye Namah, right? So we discussed about how Dakshinamurti would ever remain silent, and he imparted all the knowledge upon the Sanat Kumaras, the four brothers, in silence. So the whole conversation happened in silence. So they are known for their ultimate level of knowledge, and their sole purpose is to preserve and spread the scripture, the message of the Vedas, the ultimate knowledge. So that is their level. One who is dedicated only to the supreme knowledge. Even they are praising Hanuman, or even they fall short of the amount of praise they could shower upon Hanuman. So Sanakadika is the term there. Then Brahmadi is the next term. So Brahma, Adi, Brahma, the creator, Adi, etc. So we could consider that as the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma, the creator or the generator. Vishnu, the organizer or the sustainer. Shiva, the dissolver or the destroyer. So generator, organizer, dissolver, G-O-D, comes from there. So the three very basic, the very basic thing of creation is what? The creation itself, sustenance of whatever gets created, and that which is dissolved. So Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, the trinities are aspected to the very basic concept of creation. Creation, sustenance, and dissolution. So even they, the highest of the deities, the trinities, even they praise, or they fall short of praising Hanuman. They fall short of words to praise Hanuman. And then Munisa, referring to the sages and seers of the ancient times, who in midst of being, some of them being actual celibate, some of them being householders, but they were highly evolved souls because they were ever engaged in, they were ever focused on the ultimate truth and attaining the ultimate truth. So that was their focus. If at all they would appreciate anything, that would be ultimate truth. And even for such people who would appreciate only the ultimate truth, they were also praising Hanuman. And they were short, again, short of words to praise Hanuman. So Munisa. So Sanakadika, Brahmadi, Munisa. Next is Narada. Narada, sage Narada. Sage Narada is also referred to as Brahmarishi. Brahmarishi is a sage or seer who has the ultimate state, who has attained the supreme level of spiritual enlightenment. So Narada is referred to as that. So even Narada is in praise of Lord Hanuman. Narada is supposed to be considered among the highest among all the sages and seers. The Puranas actually refer to Narada as someone who would just walk into Lord Shiva's abode, walk into Vishnu's abode, walk into Brahma's abode, walk into Krishna, meet with him, speak with him, speak with Rama. That is the level of accessibility he had that the Puranas talk about. Or in other words, in spiritual terms, what does it mean? Narada was in a state wherein he could just connect with the deity without any issue. That was the level of his purity, of his inside, of his heart. So he was thus known as, he's referred to as the epitome of devotion. He's known for his bhakti. And Narada is the author, or the Narada Bhakti Sutra, the secrets of devotion. That's the text, Narada Bhakti Sutra, which is learnt so as to learn the secrets of devotion. It is by Narada. So Narada is usually depicted as one who holds a big musical instrument, the veena, and he has the kartal in his hand. So his veena, Narada's veena, is referred to as Mahati, and veena is is considered the king of instruments, and it's very majestic, right, by its look and by the tone that it creates. So he has the best of the instruments that he holds, because Narada is known to have mastered all the 64 forms of art. So he was so learned. So veena is representative of his mastery over all the various forms of art. And kartal is like a wooden thing, two pieces. You kind of strike them against each other. You hold it in your hand. Sometimes we see Amma does a metal one during bhajans. She holds and she strikes it amongst each other. So the wooden one, kartal. So, and you would typically use it when you call out names, when you chant names or repeat names. You create a rhythm for chanting with that. And Narada always holds it because he was known to ever be in remembrance of the divine, his Lord. He was dedicated or devoted to Lord Vishnu, ever calling out Narayana, Narayana. So if you actually are used to watching the various Indian TV series or movies which are about the Puranas, the ancient scriptures, the epics, and they would show Narada typically with a veena in his, hanging around him. And then he has this. And his entry into the scene will always be like that. He'll come in with saying, Narayana, Narayana. That's how he would enter into the scene. So that was his level, his dedication. And even Narada is falling short, or is falling short of words to praise Hanuman. So Narada. Next is Sharada. Sharada, Mother Saraswati, Goddess Saraswati, is the embodiment of knowledge. So the wholesome knowledge of the whole creation put together is what Goddess Saraswati represents. Even she is falling short of praising enough, or showering enough praises, or having enough praises of words of praises for Hanuman. Sharada, Mother Saraswati. And during Navaratri, I have described enough about Mother Saraswati, so I don't want to be redundant. You can always refer to the Navaratri videos that we have had. But otherwise, she's the very embodiment of knowledge, of all the knowledge put together. So we don't need to say anything further. So Sharada. And then comes Narada Sharada Sahita Ahisa. Ahisa referring to Adishesha. Again, a colloquial way of pronouncing Adishesha. Or he's also referred to as Shesha or Sheshanag. Or he's also referred to as Ananta. So Adishesha is the serpent with numerous heads. And Adishesha is the king or the lord of all the serpents, or rather the lord of all the creatures which live beneath the surface of earth. So he's the lord of all in the, sometimes they refer to as Patala Loka. Patala Loka, beneath the surface of earth, all the creatures, all the lives, the beings. He is the lord of all of them. And he is usually depicted as the one who supports Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu is usually shown lying on Adishesha in Yoga Nidra, in the ultimate state, lying on the ultimate state of bliss or ultimate state of, Nidra basically means sleep. So when you say sleep, the ultimate state of detachment, so as to say. So Lord Vishnu is shown lying on Adishesha, the 1,000-headed or numerous headed, innumerably headed serpent, the king of serpents, king, the lord of the beings in beneath the surface of earth. So Ahisa, referring to Adishesha. Then Jama or Yama. Yama is the lord of death. He is also referred to as Kala. Kala in Sanskrit translates to time. So Yama is not really a cruel god. Rather, he's just time, because everything in the creation is a function of time. Over time, we are born. Over time, we grow old. Over time, we start deteriorating. Over time, we perish. Not just us, everything in the creation is such. Over time, they evolve and they perish. And Yama refers, or Lord Yama is representative of that passing of time. That's why he's referred to as Kala. So when time arrives, we do have to leave. Yama is very punctual. There is no give and take here. He's very punctual. When there is time, the time is there. It's time to leave. We have to leave. As a, on a lighter note, or as a humorous comment, I remember listening to different people say, all the other gods can have a little bit of give and take. Yama, you showed Yama, right? What's that? Okay. Yeah. I guess, can someone just confirm you're able to hear us? You're able to hear us. Okay. Okay. So Yama has no compromise. Always very specific, very clear, and very timely about his responsibility. So I remember in young age hearing elders say, Lord Indra is the god of rain, the god of sky, and the lord of thunder, the lord of storms, etc. So if the western part of India would typically receive its first rain of the year around June 1st or June 2nd. That's when the monsoon season begins. And it can be plus or minus. Sometimes it is very late. Sometimes it starts very early. So they say Indra is not very punctual about his work. It's just a joke that people say. But Yama is not like that. Yama is always on time. There is no early, there is no late. It just happens. Yama is ever on time. That's why he's referred to as Kala. The very time, the very representative of time. When it is time for something to happen, it will be executed, including our end. So Yama. So Yama, Kubera is the next deity mentioned here. Kubera. Kubera is the lord of materialistic wealth, lord of materialistic prosperity. And he's also referred to as your lord of yakshas. The yakshas are the semi-divine beings. So he's the lord of wealth, so as to let us refer to him as here the lord of wealth. And often he's depicted with goddess Lakshmi, who is the goddess of prosperity, and Lord Ganesha, who is the Lord or the God who helps us overcome obstacles. So Kubera is that materialistic prosperity wherein obstacles are overcome, and prosperity just is, we have prosperity in abundance. That is what Kubera represents. So Jama, Kuber, then comes Digpala. Digpala, the Pala, guardians or protectors, and Dig, directions. So protector of the directions. So there are the Ashtadig. Ashtadig, 8 directions. South, west, east, southwest, north, and east. And then there is southwest, southeast, northeast, northwest. So the 8 directions. So Digpal, there is a protector or a deity for each of these directions. And there is also the reference of Dashadig. Dashadig, the 10 directions. So the 8 directions plus up and down, above and below. So that makes it 10. The 8 and 2. One above, one below. So the 10 directions. So typically we refer to it as 8 directions. And the 8 directions, each of them have a deity assigned to them. So they are the protectors or the guardians of that direction. Beginning with Kubera. We just discussed Kubera, the deity of wealth, who safeguards the north direction. And then there is Yama, who safeguards or who is the lord of the south direction. Then there is Indra. We just discussed Indra, the lord of rain, the lord of sky, the lord of thunder and storm. And at the same time, he's the king of all the demigods. He's the king of the heaven. So Indra safeguards the east, and the west is by Varuna. Varuna is the lord of water, sea, ocean, lake, etc. So water of any form. So Varuna is that of west. And then the northeast, southeast, northwest, southwest. Northeast is Ishana. Ishana is the lord of, he's one of the forms of Shiva, is one of the Rudras. If you remember several weeks ago during Hanuman Chalisa, we discussed about how Hanuman is the incarnation of one of the Rudras. That's why he's referred to as Rudra Avatara. So Lord Shiva has the various Rudras, and Ishana is one of those Rudras. So he safeguards the northeast. Agni, the lord of fire, he safeguards the southeast. And then Vayu, the lord of wind, the wind god, safeguards the northwest. And then we have Nirriti. He safeguards the southwest. Nirriti is about degeneration, decaying, disintegration, the lord of that. So we have all these 8 deities safeguarding each of the direction. In case you may have paid attention to when I perform the Homa, Puja, you would see me doing mudras to each of the direction. And first, so when we prepare ourselves for the puja, we pray or we cleanse or we kind of bind all the lords of these directions. And then when we install the deity, same thing, we safeguard all the directions. So we call them Dashadik Bandhanam. Dashadik Bandhanam, we are safeguarding or putting them together. So Dasha Dik Bandhanam, the 10 directions. So 8 directions up and down. We do specific mudras for each of the direction. And in the end of the puja, when we uninstall the deity, we say Dashadik Mochanam. So freeing all the 10 directions and then uninstalling the deity. So, again, I hope it's not too much information. I hope I'm not overloading you with information. But because this reference of Digapal came here, Digpala, the saviors or the protectors of the 8 directions. So they are also always in praise of Hanuman, or even they are falling short of words to praise Hanuman. Digpal. And then last 2 things, Kavi and Kovid. Kavi, the poets; Kovid, the singers, the musicians, or the intellectual ones. Even they are not having enough words to express their praise for Hanuman. That is the level of his greatness. So we began with Sanaka and others, Brahma and others, Muni, the sages and seers, Narada, sage Narada, Sharada, who is Mother Saraswati, then Sahita, Ahisa, the Adishesha, then Yama, Lord of Death, Kubera, Lord of Wealth, Digapala, the guardians of space, the guardians of all directions, and Kavi and Kovid, poets and singers and intellectuals. So all of them are who? Where do they get words to praise Hanuman? They are short of that. They don't have enough words to praise Hanuman, is what these 2 verses convey. So let's look into just the spiritual message behind this. So if you really think about it, all these are deities, all these are demigods who really don't need to praise anyone. When do we praise someone? When one way of looking at it, we have some selfish motive behind it. And when you say the deity, God of something, one way of looking at it, we don't have to praise always selfishly, but one aspect of it is to praise someone when we need something out of it, or we are trying to make pacify or satisfy someone. But then the deities, they don't really need that. They are already in that elevated state. Why do they need to praise Hanuman? They don't need to praise Hanuman. So like we discussed the last time, Lord Rama would typically not praise Hanuman because a spiritual master would always be concerned about the disciples' ego and not really unnecessarily praise them so as to boost their ego. I was giving the example of London Devi Bhava, how Amma asked me to lead a session and I felt all, great about it. And I heard from others, Amma, having praises for me, especially for that session. But when I went up to Amma, Amma said, you gave me a headache, right? I discussed that the last week. You gave me a headache. For others, when they came and told me, they said, Amma had this and this and this to say about you and your singing and the session. But to me, she made it a point. She will not facilitate the growth of my ego. So the deities, they don't really need to praise anyone, nor do they have a selfish motive to praise anyone. Even selflessly, they will not praise someone because it's going to boost their ego. In spite of that, here it says Hanuman was so great that they didn't have enough words to praise him. One, to show that Hanuman is at that level wherein ego was never a matter. That's why there is just no hesitation in praising him by all these deities. But when we really talk about praise, more than praise, it is actually grace that is signified here. And what do we mean by grace? By grace, we have that 8 things. So by grace, we actually mean when you say, may, Amma always says, Kripa Rakshikete, may grace protect you. May you have divine grace in any endeavor that we venture into. So by grace, we mean all the factors associated with that endeavor, all the factors associated with the situation that we face. When all those factors fall in place, we say we have grace. If any of the factors doesn't fall in place, we are in lack of grace. For example, someone is going on a trip and we say, happy journey, may you have safe journey. Basically, what do we mean? We mean, may you have grace that your journey goes on eventless without any problem. That's what we actually mean. We mean, I don't know whether we actually mean it, this is what we are supposed to mean. When you say, may you have happy new year, may you have happy birthday, may you have safe journey, we basically are praying that all these factors that you have to deal with in every situation, may all of them fall in place. That's what grace is. So when we say you have a great journey, what does it mean? It can mean a lot of things. There can be so many factors. For example, the Uber driver who comes to pick you up and drop you at the airport, he better not be drunk, better not be, sleepy, better be a safe driver. And the Uber driver's car better be maintained well or not get a flat tire on the way. All this is going to affect our journey. And we also, when you say have a safe journey, it also means when you're driving from home to the airport, every driver that you face, we easily would go across a few hundred cars for sure when we go from home to the airport. And each driver in each of these cars has to be safe driver and not make a mistake. Any one of them makes a mistake, we may even end up dying right there in the accident spot, right? So that is a huge amount of grace that every of the hundreds of drivers that we are going past, they're all driving safe. If you really think about it, it's a huge amount of grace. And then once we reach the airport, better the computers be working fine with the airlines, the check-in and all that. Better the bag handler delivers our bag to the right airplane, to the right conveyor belt that takes it to the airplane. Better every little screw on the airplane be in place. Any one screw is not in place, the airplane is not going to take off. So all these are factors that play an important role. There are innumerable number of factors. Weather could be another thing. Better be conducive, else your journey is not going to be safe, or journey may not even begin. The airplane may be just grounded for a long time. Better like the Uber driver, better your pilot be also well rested and not drunk or not be sane before he or she starts flying the airplane. And we have to make sure, or it needs to be true that every passenger on the airplane is sane, every passenger on the airplane is healthy enough. Any one of them falls sick or any one of them goes crazy, again, the flight has to be grounded, emergency landing. Again, things will not unfold the way we want it to unfold. So I've just listed a few factors. When we say happy journey, or may you have grace while your journey, it basically means all these factors have to fall in place. And many of these factors are beyond our control. So the point I was trying to make is, when you say all these various deities are praising Hanuman, it basically means all these deities are the factors that, or they represent various factors that define the smooth execution of what one does. So we mentioned about Sanakadi, Brahmadi, Narada, Sharada, Ahisa, Jama, Kubera, Digpal, and Kabi and Kobid, right? We can show that list. So Sanaka and the four brothers, they represent what? They represent the holders of the highest level of knowledge. So having knowledge, to be knowledgeable in a given situation, is of very high importance. So that is one of the important factors that would help us face a situation in the best way. So knowledge and knowledgeable, we should be knowledgeable enough to face any situation. That is one form of grace if we have enough knowledge to face a situation. Second, Brahmadi, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, creation, sustenance, and dissolution. May all these three factors be conducive to us. May things start at the right time for you. May things end at the right time for you. May it sustain the right way for you. I go to catch an airplane. For whatever reason, the gate just closes before I reach there. We don't have the grace of the creation there, right? The creation process of our flight. We don't have grace. So better creation, sustenance, and dissolution, all these factors be in place. Then Narada he represents devotion, bhakti. So may we have the right attitude of dedication. We should be dedicated enough to be successful in any given situation. May we have that. That's what Narada represents. Sharada, Goddess Saraswati, the very knowledge, the very embodiment of knowledge. So it's not enough we are knowledgeable. We should be knowledgeable about the right thing. It's not enough that I am a PhD. I better be knowledgeable. I have the right knowledge for a given situation. I can say I am a PhD in computer science, but if I am drowning in a swimming pool, I better be knowledgeable about, I have the right knowledge about swimming and staying afloat. Then claiming I'm a PhD in computer science is not going to help me. So, not just knowledgeable, even the right knowledge needs to be there. So, that is also an important factor. Ahisa, the Adishesha, the Lord of the beings in the Patala, beneath the surface of earth, basically referring to all the lower tendencies that we may have, which would act as a hurdle for us. May all those factors be in place. May we not be hurdled by lower tendencies. May we not be hurdled by factors that are beneath our understanding and comprehension. So that's what Adishesha represents here as factor. And then Yama. Yama, we talked about Yama as a lot of time. So let time be in our favor for whatever we do, for it to be successful. Time. And then Kubera, all the materialistic support that we need. Though we say I am a spiritual being, I am a monk, I still need a car to go from one place to another. I still need, money to sustain. I still need a roof to live under. So let's try to minimize it, but we still need materialistic support. So Kubera refers to all those factors. And then Digpal, the space around us, all the directions, the 8 directions, the 2 directions up and below. Let all the directions be in your face, in your favor. What does it mean? Let the space that you in be favorable to you. And then Kavi and Kovid, they are poets and singers. They are the ones who have the ability to express. So it says, may the factors wherein we are able to express our thoughts, we are able to express something the right way, be in your favor. Expressing, I remember I'm sure you may have read different jokes about autocorrect on the phone. The husband who does not or who in this particular joke, the husband does not have a great relationship with the mother-in-law. And the wife is always not happy about it. So the wife texts the husband telling, Mom is severely ill and is hospitalized. I hope she survives. And the husband responds, I hope she does, is what he needs to convey back. But autocorrect changes the does to dies. DOES changes to DIES. So what does the response go? The wife says, I hope she survives. And he says, I hope she dies. So he meant good. He said, I hope she does. But when it got conveyed, it got conveyed completely in the opposite meaning. So that's what is the last factor. What we are trying to convey, what we are trying to express, let that be the right way. So may those factors fall in place too. So I feel all these names that are mentioned, it may have been randomly mentioned by Tulsidas, but I feel they are not randomly mentioned. There is a meaning behind why each of these names was selected and mentioned, because all these are very important factors for any situation that we face, and we need the grace with all these factors to fall in place. Only then we would be successful in any given situation. So I feel, uh, though these two verses may seem like, oh, they're just few names and they're all praising Hanuman. What's the big deal? It's not. If we really look at it spiritually, it is a big deal. They all are representative of factors that we need to fall in place so that what we venture into is successful. That's what we refer to as grace. All these factors falling in place. So one who has all the factors fall in place is the one who we refer to as the hero or the king or the lord, because one who has everything under control is the king, is the controller of that situation. It's like the Rajnikant jokes. You know, the South Indian movie industry, especially the Tamil movie industry, has this hero actor called Rajnikant. He, by nature, is very humble, very modest, and least flashy. But in movies, he's altogether different. He is someone who would defy physics, chemistry, biology, or any law of science. He would just raise his leg and, move it in circular motion. There will be a hurricane that would be created, or a tornado that would be created that would kind of, completely demolish all the enemies or all the wicked guys, the villains standing against him. So that's the kind of exaggeration that happens in his movies. So this led to a lot of Rajni jokes or Rajnikant jokes. So there are many Rajnikant jokes, like Rajni does not need a watch. Why? Because he decides what the time is. He doesn't need a watch. Or we cry when we cut onions. Rather, when Rajnikant cuts, the onions cry. Or there are jokes like Rajnikant doesn't age because time finds it difficult to catch up with him. He's so fast. Or there's like, Rajnikant is so great that he killed the Dead Sea. Or there are jokes like, when Rajnikant does push-ups, he doesn't push himself up, rather he pushes the earth down. So that's the kind of jokes that are about Rajnikant. So this may sound funny, but when we really think about it, I'm very sure he's not capable of it. In his movies, maybe such things happen. But when we think about it spiritually, when we have all the factors in place, we are the Lord. We dictate terms in that given situation. A realized master, a Mahatma like Amma is such. They always have all the situations that they are in under their control, right? The factors just seem to fall in place wherever Amma goes, because it is always celebration around Amma. Not that Amma began everything like that. Amma's life is full of challenges. If we read Amma's biography, we have discussed so many of the episodes from Amma's biography of all the challenges that Amma has faced that even normal people like us don't face. She has gone to the other extreme of facing so many challenges in her life. But none of them remained as challenges for her. They all remained as stepping stones for her. And she's a perfect example of how one could overcome all the challenges and use them in one's own advantage. And she is creating a huge impact in millions of lives today in a positive way, because she had everything under her control. The factors around her, maybe they were conducive or otherwise, but her mindset was such that everything seemed to be conducive. That's why Amma says, Paristhiti, it's not the paristhiti that we changed the manasthiti. Paristhiti matenda, manasthitiyana matendathu. What we need to change is not our surrounding. What we need to change is our mindset, our own attitude. So, Mahatmas like Amma are always under control of the situation that they are in. How? Because they are not dependent on the factors around them. Rather, they are dependent on their own self and their own self alone. The In simple words, Mahatmas like Amma, their happiness, their enthusiasm, their drive to do things is not based on people and things around them. Their drive to do things, their happiness, their enthusiasm is all based on their own self. They are dependent only on themselves, nothing around them. That's why the factors around them never bother them. That's why the factors thus become conducive for them. That's why the verse in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, goes as Uddharet Atmanatmanam na Atmanam avasadhayet. We have discussed this. Atmaiva hyatmano bandhu, Atmaiva ripuratmanah. Uddharet Atmanatmanam. Rise your own self through what? Through your own self, not through someone else or something else. If you need to rise, you need to rise your own self. You need to raise your own self. Don't let your rise fall. Don't let your rise, yourself fall down or go, southwards. Atmaiva hyatmano bandhu. Who is the best companion you could have? Your own self. Atmaiva ripuratmana. Who is the worst enemy you could have? Your own self. So who is the cause of all our problems? Not people and things around us. It may seem like they are our problems. Who is the problem? Our own self. And who is that helps me rise? Is my own self. So my best friend is myself. My worst enemy is myself. So a Mahatma is such who is ever established in their own self. They are least bothered by things around them. In which case, automatically all the factors will fall in place. Because whether they are cordial or not, it is not going to affect them. There is a story of Mushika Stri or Mushika Vadhu. I am sure if you have grown up in India, you would have definitely heard this story of this mouse which was transformed into a woman. So it seems an eagle or a bird, a carnivorous bird, once caught hold of a mice and was about to eat it. But the mouse was smart enough to some way wiggle out of the bird's grasp, and it fell down as the bird was flying, and it fell from its claws and actually landed up in a sage's hands. He was praying with his hands open and fell in his hands, and the sage transformed the mouse into a beautiful girl who he referred to as his daughter. So he accepted the mouse as his daughter, transforming the mouse into a beautiful girl. Now as the girl grew up, reached the marriageable age, the sage is now trying to find a beautiful match for, or a perfect match for his daughter. And he asked the daughter, who do you want to marry? And the daughter says, I want to marry the most mightiest that we can see visibly in front of us. And who's the most mightiest and we can see in front of us? The sun. So he approaches the sun god asking, can you please marry my daughter? He said, I would be more than, delighted to marry your daughter, but I am not the greatest. There is someone greater than me. And they are quite taken aback. Who is greater than you? He says, I shine with all this might, but if a cloud comes and covers me, my luster is all gone. My power to shine light is all gone. So the Lord of the cloud is stronger than me. So they approach cloud. The Lord of cloud, can you please marry my daughter? He says, I may seem mighty, but I am not as mighty. I am helpless when the wind blows me and plays, basketball with me, pushing me here and there. So the wind is stronger than me because it can blow me anywhere it wants. So they now go to the wind god. Can you please marry my daughter? Wind god says, yeah, it may be true that I am quite powerful, But I am helpless when there is a huge mountain in front of me. The mountain just stops me, stops my flow. So the mountain is greater than me. And they go to the mountain, the Lord of the mountains, and says, "Can you please marry my daughter?" And the mountain says, "I may be mighty and huge and strong, but I am not strong enough when the little mouse which runs around me, about me, you know, digs hole in me, goes in, makes a house, brings all things, does whatever on me. I am helpless. I can't do anything about it." So the mouse is greater than me. So the mouse girl had to transform back into being a mouse and then marry the mouse, which is mightiest of all. So the girl who was a mouse who wanted to marry the mightiest of all had to become who she actually was and end up marrying a mouse. That's the story of the Mushika Stri, the Mushika Vadhu, the mouse bride or the mouse girl or the mouse woman. Um, so that is where it is. Wherever we go, finally we have to come back to our own self, who we truly are. So that's what Mahatmas represent. They are ever established in their own self. And because they are established in their own self, all the factors around them automatically fall in place. Even if they don't fall in place, it least affects them. Thus, they actually are conducive. That is what Hanuman represents here. Hanuman is someone who has his ego under control, because ego is the problem. One who has ego under control through his humility, through his devotion, through his bhakti, through his understanding, acceptance, patience. Through those, he has ego under control. And because he has ego under control, all these factors, Sanaka, Brahma, Kavi, Kovid, Yama, Kubera, Narada, Sharada, Ahisa, Adishesha, they are all cordial with him. All these factors are cordial with him. That's why this verse says, all these people praise him, or all these people are helpless in praising him. They don't have enough ability to praise him, because all these factors, good or otherwise, may sometimes not be able to affect one who has surpassed his or her ego. So that's what these two verses convey, or that's my understanding of these two verses. It is exactly 8:30. We are good with time. We may have pleased the Lord of Time, Yama, that we stop. We are done with the discussion exactly at 8:30. So we will conclude the discussion here and now sing the Hanuman Chalisa. Just before that, every session I actually add a summary, not exactly summary. You can just show those tables. We're not going through them. Huh? Okay. Anyway, the PowerPoint slides has a table of all the verses. How do we understand devotion through each of these verses? I think when we tried to send these slides out, because there was some technical issue and the slides didn't go across. So many of you haven't received those slides. We'll send it again this time. So every slide deck that we use every week, in the end, there are 3 or 4 slides that discuss the points of devotion from each of the verse. So what are the various qualities of devotion or various forms of devotion from each of the verse? So please make sure you go through them so that you can kind of remind yourselves of all the various qualities that we have discussed about Hanuman and how they add up to devotion or bhakti. Once again, thank you for your patience. Now we'll sing the Hanuman Chalisa. Give us a couple of minutes. We'll quickly set up the mic and then start the chanting or the singing. Om Amriteshwariyai Namah. श्री गुरु चरण सरोज रज निज मन मुकुर सुधार बरना रघुबर विमल जसु जो दायक फल चार बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके सुमिरा पवन कुमार बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु कलेश विकार। जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीस तिहु लोक उजागर रामदूत अतुलित बल धामा अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी कंचन बरन विराज सुबेसा कानन कुंडल कुंचित केसा हाथ वज्र और ध्वजा विराजै कांधे मूंज जनेऊ साजै शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाबलवंदन विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया राम लखन सीता मन बसिया। सिया राम सिया राम सिया राम सिया राम जय हनुमान सिया राम सिया राम सिया राम सिया राम जय हनुमान। सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियहि दिखावा विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे रामचंद्र के काज सवारे लाय संजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुवीर हर्षि उर लाए रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बढ़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरतहि सम भाई सहस बदन तुम्हरो जस गावै हस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावै सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा नारद सारद सहित अहिसा जम कुबेर दिगपाल जहाते कवि कोविद कहि सकै कहाते तुम उपकार सुग्रीवहि कीन्हा राम मिलाय राजपद दीन्हा। सिया राम सिया राम सिया राम सिया राम जय हनुमान सिया राम सिया राम सिया राम सिया राम जय हनुमान। तुम्हरो मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना जुग सहस्र जो जन पर भानु लील्यो ताहि मधुर फल जानु प्रभु मुद्रिका मेलि मुख माहि जलधि लाधि गए अचर जनाहि दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हरे तेते काम दुआरे तुम रखवारे होत न आज्ञा बिनु पैसारे सब सुख लहै तुम्हारी सरना तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना आपन तेज संहारो आपै तीनों लोक हाँकते कापै, भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवै, महावीर जप नाम सुनावै। सिया राम सिया राम सिया राम सिया राम, जय हनुमान। सिया राम सिया राम सिया राम सिया राम, जय हनुमान। नासे रोग हरे सब पीरा, जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीरा। संकट से हनुमान छुड़ावै, मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावै। सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा, तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा। और मनोरथ जो कोई लावै, सोई अमित जीवन फल पावै। चारों जुग परताप तुम्हारा, है परिसिद्ध जगत उजियारा। साधु संत के तुम रखवारे, असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे। अष्ट सिद्धि नौ निधि के दाता, असबर दीन जानकी माता। राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा, सदा रहा रघुपति के दासा। सिया राम सिया राम सिया राम सिया राम, जय हनुमान। सिया राम सिया राम सिया राम सिया राम, जय हनुमान। तुम्हारे भजन राम को पावे, जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे। अंत काल रघुवर पुर जाए, जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाए। और देवता चित्तन धरई, हनुमत से सर्व सुख करई। संकट कटै मिटै सब पीरा, जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलबीरा। जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाई। जो सत बार पाठ कर कोई, छूटहि बंधि महासुख होई। जो यह पढ़ै हनुमान चालीसा, होय सिद्धि साखी गौरीसा। तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा, कीजे नाथ हृदय मह डेरा। कीजे नाथ कीजे नाथ हृदय मह डेरा। पवन तनय संकट हरन, मंगल मूर्ति रूप। राम लखन सीता सहित, हृदय बसहु सुरभूप। सियावर रामचंद्र की जय, सियावर रामचंद्र की जय। पवन सुत हनुमान की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। उमाता सीता की जय, उमाता सीता की जय। ओ भ्राता लक्ष्मण की जय, ओ भ्राता लक्ष्मण की जय। भरत और शत्रुघ्न की जय, भरत और शत्रुघ्न की जय। सियावर रामचंद्र की जय, सियावर रामचंद्र की जय। पवन सुत हनुमान की जय, सियावर रामचंद्र की जय। पवन सुत हनुमान सुत हनुमान की जय, सियावर रामचंद्र की जय। पवन सुत हनुमान की जय, सियावर रामचंद्र की जय। पवन सुत हनुमान की जय, सियावर रामचंद्र की जय। पवन सुत हनुमान की जय, सियावर रामचंद्र की जय। पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु। लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु। लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।